Hey, what's up, guys? This is Phil again. This is the second part of my miter saw station build, so enjoy the video.
So my first step after I measured my opening was to start ripping the plywood to size. In this case, I was just ripping the width. Uh, then once that I was done with that, I started cross-cutting to the right length of my opening.
Once I was done cutting the pieces, I proceeded to edge band the draw fronts. I started with the longer side, making sure that the iron was hard enough and that was sticking well enough. Then once that was done, it was time to start trimming the pieces. I just used my laminate edge trimmer. It was very efficient. I mean, as long as the edge trimmer is nice and sharp, you'll be okay. Then I did the smaller side, which the smaller side is a little tricky, but it came out pretty good. Okay, guys, when you're doing the short side, this is very important here. You're gonna start, because of both long edges have been edge taped now, you don't want to go through all the way, because the one of the side, there's a very good chance that that side is going to explode. So when you're doing the short side, you're going to go halfway through, you're going to turn around and come back. That's going to give you a nice and clean edge on both sides. Once I had all the drawer fronts edge taped, I just moved on to the trim part of the drawer. I just ended up ripping some oak hardwood that I had laying around the shop, 3/4 by inch and 7/16, based on the size of my molding. Then I moved on to the milling, passing through the shaper. You do have to be careful when you're running moldings through a shaper like this, because there's a lot of variances, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So if you haven't done it yet, don't attempt to do it in first try, running the pieces sideways like this. I would get comfortable with the machine. Then you move on to whatever piece of molding you're trying to mill. So that's the style of molding. It came out very nice and clean. I was running the machine at about 7,000 RPM, and it came out very smooth. So after I finished milling the pieces, I just went ahead and sanded all the drawer fronts so I could apply the molding on it. I touched it up the trim with the sander beforehand, because it's tough to sand it afterwards. So I just sand all the pieces first, so it would make it easier on me. So once I have all my pieces, my drawer front sanded, the next step is to start cutting all the parts to apply to the drawer front. I'm gonna start cutting most of those pieces on the table saw, so I'll cut one side of the miter, because I know it will be perfectly at a 45-degree angle at that joint. It's gonna go very nice. So I'll glimpse through this and you guys can see. I'm using a jig from Mackler, which is a very cool little jig that I just purchased about 3 months ago. And it just makes it easier to cut things at an angle and make it easier on yourself. And it has a drop, an outfeed board, so when you're cutting the pieces, it doesn't drop, it doesn't kick back at you. The piece just sits there, and it's safer that way. So what I do when I'm doing a lot of the same pieces, I just set up the jig so I can do kind of a like production. I cut all my pieces length and width slightly longer first, so I can just pre-cut, start cutting everything, and I don't have to think about it too much. Then after I have one side cut, I just set up the stop, and I move ahead and cut the other side to the specific length that I want.
Now that I got all the pieces cut and everything is sanded, it's just a matter of assembling and attaching that piece of trim. This is what the drawer front is gonna look like. The pieces are loose right now because I was working on a jig. And basically this jig that I made, it snaps on top of the drawer front. Because of this is an apply molding. So all I do, I snap that on, and it has a cleat, a setback, and a backside and on the sides. So I know that all the drawers are gonna be the same.
So once that I have that jig made, the process goes fairly quick. It's just a matter of clamping that jig down and put the glue on the drawer front and start nailing, pinning with the 23 gauge the molding to the front of the drawer. I just make sure that everything is nice and clean. I always check the joints. I glue the joints. And after I take the jig off, I just do a final inspect to make sure that there is no glue around it. Once I finish applying all the moldings to the drawer fronts, I just moved on to the next part of the project, which was milling the pieces for the miter saw. I just ended up flat joining everything and straight one edge. Make sure that everything was nice and flat, because that's actually the part that's gonna be my stock it's gonna be resting on. So I want to make sure that was nice and flat. So I ended up flat joining first, joining one edge, then I moved on to the planer, which is I ended up milling the piece to, I think the ideal size for that crag track was about 13/16, which I ended up putting a dado on the top side just because of the configuration of the track. I didn't want the track sticking up too far, so I ended up putting 3/32 dado on the top of the board, just so that track was gonna sit nice and flat. And I just was playing around with it, make sure that everything was gonna sit nice and flush, and measuring for the height as well.
At this point, I had all my fence installed, so I was just pre-drilling the crag track from the back so I could attach to the fence. Once that was done, I moved on to the installing of the drawer fronts. I started by pulling all the drawers out of the cabinet, and I start from the bottom up. Because I knew all my clearances right from the get-go, I just use a laminate shim, which is, they're pretty consistent in thickness. So I started putting 2 on either side, then 2 on the bottom, on either side of the bottom, and I pin it with the 23 gauge from the back. Then I open the drawer once that was secure, and I just add a couple screws to it. Once I had all the drawer fronts installed, I decided to do a toe kick under the cabinet. I just had some oak plywood laying around the shop, so I decided to go with that. Just as well as to prevent things from getting kicked under the cabinet and getting stuck under there. So I did halfway, because eventually I'm gonna put my dust collecting pipe behind the toe kick. Once I had finished the toe kick, it was time to move the saw out of place and start resanding everything, because I was planning on refinishing the station with some type of clear poly or something. So I just went over all the marks that pencil marks, all the marks that might have been left there while I was working on the station, and just going over the whole thing, prepping it for get the finish on it. In the meantime, I remembered that I hadn't installed any knobs or pulls, so I searched on the shop, and I had some leftover knobs from a job that I had done a long time ago, and I decided to use
two knobs on either drawer because they're white drawers, and I knew that if I use one knob only in the center, it was gonna be kind of not that it wouldn't be strong enough. I think it would be strong enough, but it would be once that I load the drawers, I think it was gonna be too heavy to pull the single drawer from the center. So I just ended up using two knobs. Then I proceeded to clean all the surface, vacuum, and make sure that everything was nice and clean, dust free, because the next step was going to be to finish it. I ended up going with a fast drying polyurethane clear gloss just to protect the surface. And when I cutting boards and cutting trims and stuff on top of that surface, I just wanted to make sure that that was gonna be somewhat protected and not get all scuffed up over time. So I ended up doing one coat of polyurethane one day and waiting 12 hours and resanding everything with the 220 grit and going over the whole thing again, doing another coat of poly. I just wanted to make sure that that was gonna be nice and protected and it was gonna last a while to come. It's always hard to do something and a month or a year from now the whole thing gets scuffed up again. I'm not expecting the cabinets to last a lifetime. It is gonna get used, but I'm just hoping that I don't have to refinish anytime soon. Okay guys, so this is all done now. This is how the miter saw station came out. I got 3 drawers on either side, deep drawers, 21 inch by 40, I think it came out to 40 inches wide. So everything is done. I just threw a couple coats of polyurethane just to protect that surface when I'm cutting pieces and using the surface, sliding boards across. So, and I got that track installed, the crag track installed, so everything it's all set. The only thing that I gotta do left is connect the dust collecting system, which is I hooked it up under there. I put the pipe for it. I was running on a vacuum, but I think I'm gonna hook it up to my main dust collecting system, and I'll post it on the next video so you guys can see what's gonna end up happening with my dust collecting system. Alright, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel if you like, and give it a like. Thanks.